Take a look, it's in a book, The Reading Rainbow. Or it's in something you printed off from a PDF on the internet, which has an unidentifiable stain that I will spare you on the back of it. What the fuck is that? I've just finished reading, and to the last page, I kept mispronouncing it. The Aleph. There were so many things I need to look up in this. I like short stories. I just finished reading The Snow Leopard by Peter Thielsen. Peter Thielsen. And it's a wonderful book. It's not a big book. It's like this big. Like thickness, not height. That'd be a very tiny book. And it took me a long time to read. Had to have a little microfiche reader. That sounds like some sort of quaint hipster thing that might... Tiny books. I sell tiny books, and I sell these beautiful handcrafted microfiche readers. This one's made out of brass and ethically sourced hardwood. I like to read it on the subway. Okay, sorry. When I go to my job at Jersey Mike's in Times Square. So this is a story by Borges, and it is bananas. It's just so my point about The Snow Leopard, that's a very good book. It's very rich. It references lots of stuff about Buddhism and history and lots of regional stuff. It takes place in the Himalaya. It's about him going out with his wildlife biology friend who is studying some sort of mountain goat or sheep. Yet to be determined. That's what he's trying to part of what he's trying to figure out is if they're goats or sheep. And then Peter, his wife had just died of cancer, and he is a practicing Buddhist, and so he goes and he recounts the tale. And he writes about it. And it's really beautiful, but it is so there are so many names that I struggle to keep up with. And he references so much interesting history, and he keeps referencing places. And there's a map at the beginning of the book, so I'm like flipping. It's almost sort of does me a disservice, although I would have probably been on Google Maps otherwise. And it's just so rich. It was really hard for me to like let go and just follow the story and let myself not get all the references. I'm sure he knows his audience doesn't know all these references. But this is small enough that I could read through it all, let myself miss all the references. And now it's so tiny. It's like however much that is, and it's like this sort of margins are gigantic, and so I can actually kind of do a deep dive in this because he references so much cool stuff, and it's such a fascinating story. It's so well written. And I kept it's the how would you pronounce that? Aleph is how I'm pronouncing it. I kept saying alpha. And it turns out Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And on the last page, he says, as is well known, the Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Okay, not everyone is as well educated as Borges was. I'm sure not. I got me a nursing license and half of Parks and Rec and education in English. I did take many English classes. So it's spectacular. So it's about this guy whose partner has died. It's so short, it's pretty easy to spoil it if I'm not careful. But it's very worth reading. It's very short. This person's partner has died, or his love interest. It's unclear the nature of their relationship. It's almost a spoiler to say that. Someone he very much cares about, and her father is now contacting him. And it's really kind of he sort of finds the father to be sort of insufferable. And then some crazy shit happens. Yeah, so it's like his description of the a woman who has died, his description of the father, the the dial. Well, it's not really dialogue because the father just sort of monologues at him. So the father's writing. The father is pretty, I'd say, insufferable. It's just great. It's just great, and um, the sort of mat whatever it is that's happening, science fiction or magic or I don't know, but it's great. Highly recommend. I'll read it again because I have these aspirations of one day being an actor. I thought maybe I'd read this for LibriVox because I read it out loud because I was having trouble tracking what was going on, and so sometimes if something's like a child reading a book, I will trace it with my finger and say every word out loud. And there's so many words, even just the Aleph. And here, I'll just read you the first. What do you call it? An imprint? The things, the quotes that are put at the beginning of a chapter. I'll read you those, and these were hard to read too. Oh God, I could be bounded in a nutshell and count myself a king of infinite space. Hamlet. Act 2, Scene 2. But they will teach us that eternity is the standing still of the present time. A nuck stands, as the school calls it, which neither they nor anyone else, nor any, see, even there I fucked it up, which neither they nor any else understand, no more than they would a hick stands, for an infinite greatness of place. That's from Leviathan. I guess that's probably also a play. Act 4, Scene 46. It says Roman numeral 446. So, and that I swear to God, this nuke stans. This is probably. There's a part of me that has this envy that I didn't go to some fancy boarding school or something where I learned Greek and Latin and the literary canon. Because I would get all of these. I heard of Hamlet, but Leviathan. I guess I should know what Leviathan is. But then also Borges would just make stuff up and make it and just. So I'm like, is that a made up thing? Is Leviathan? I mean, it's like, you know. So he's kind of the perfect like highbrow person for a relatively uneducated person like myself to read because and especially this size because I can sort of dive into it and look up all these things. I kept rating Nook stands as nutsack. I just could not do it. I wasn't even trying to be funny. It was just like, but they will teach us that eternity is the standing still of the present time, a nutsack, as the school calls it, which neither they nor any else understand no more than they would a hick stands, a hicksack, for an infinite greatness of place. Okay, anyway, that's it. It's great. Love it. You should read it. The Aleph by Jorge Luis Borges.